Howdy. This is the Views from the Shop podcast. I'm your host, today, October 26th, 2025, coming to you live here on YouTube and Twitter. And I wish you a very, very, very happy National Mincemeat Day. Today's show continues the 2025 season preview series for the Ohio State University Buckeyes men's basketball team. It's been a fantastic month. We reviewed the offseason when we started the month. We broke down the roster in depth, the schedule in depth, had some guests on last week as well to go through some best case and worst case scenarios. And here we are again today on October 26th, where we go through a mailbag, a preseason mailbag here. So I've got some questions that I'll walk through today, and I've also got some takeaways from Ohio State's exhibition against Ohio that took place yesterday. If you're listening here or watching live on Twitter or YouTube, that we will get through as well as the Buckeyes kind of just got after it today for about 40 minutes against Ohio and look good, right? We're happy with that, I assume. So we'll talk about that. Well, some people just not happy. I'm going through Twitter this afternoon, and it may be the stench of the Bengals and Browns or NFL teams in this state losing. It may also be we're bored, and also I need some attention. Ohio State football didn't play this week, so as an Ohio State account that tweets mostly about football and then sometimes just complains about the basketball team because that's the thing to do. Just seeing people complain and saying, "Oh, we still have a basketball." I thought we got rid of the men's basketball team. Shut up. It's not funny. Shove it. We're not doing that here. So if you're hearing me like that, then fine. Comment and say what you will. I'm not going to police that unless I do, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to give the Ohio State University men's basketball program the attention that it does deserve, even if the past few years have not been great, or 10 years. So before we get into that, look, I've talked about it a lot, and if you haven't done it yet, now is the time. I have been all in on trying to get to 200 subs on YouTube. When the month began, we were at like 130 something, 140 something. We're very, very close to 200 subscribers on YouTube. I started the YouTube much later than the podcast. So I just linked it there in the comments. If you don't even get on YouTube, or if you get on YouTube, you don't watch the show there, and you like the podcast, you like it on Twitter, please, I beg of you, we're so close. Can you help me get there? Can you help a guy out? I'd really appreciate that. So get there. The other thing I'll plug while we're here is the Substack that I plug all the time. Views from the Shot Substack. Sorry, Views from the Shot podcast.substack.com. Would really appreciate it if you get there. You can subscribe for absolutely free. That is your hub for Ohio State men's basketball content, Ohio State men's basketball content only. We're not talking, no offense to the women's program, we're not talking about them. No offense to the football program, we're not talking about them. It's just Ohio State basketball all the time, no matter what. So thanks for being here. If you're here live as the Steelers and Packers are playing, and my fantasy team, we're in a tight one. We're in pins and needles there watching that game in Pittsburgh, but I can't watch it because I got to talk Ohio State hoops with you. So thanks for being here. Excited because for some of you who may be listening to the show, we may be 1 week away, 7 days away from Ohio State playing college basketball and the season being so back. We're about to file a claim, folks. We're about to be so back. So excited for that. Let's get into, I guess, first thoughts on the exhibition with Ohio. So I didn't live tweet this game just because, quite frankly, I'm not trying to blow people's timeline up with an exhibition, and Connor Lamons, Adam Jardy did a great job kind of talking through it. And if you're watching it, you're watching it. If not, you're probably not. So I just decided, hey, let's sit back for this one before we got to lock in for the regular season. But I've got some general thoughts. I had a couple people asking in the Substack specifically. I'm not sure if we got any questions on Twitter on this, but just asking my overall thoughts on the exhibition, and I'm happy to share that with you right now. I've got some thoughts. So first of all, the minutes that you see in this exhibition, they're not normal. There's a couple things that are not normal because it's an exhibition, and it probably goes without saying, but I will say it anyway. Number one, the minutes, not normal at all. Number two, The scoring output, probably not normal either. I'll talk about that in a second, but this was an exhibition. I think Braylon Nash, let me check here. Yeah, Braylon Nash and Miles Harrow both played 1 minute in this game. Nash came in at the very end of the first half just to heave the ball down the floor. And that's not really going to be normal, I assume. Maybe that's Braylon Nash's role. I don't know, but probably not going to be the role necessarily. And some other minutes here. Bruce Thornton's going to play 25 minutes, more than 25 minutes per game. Obviously, Devin Royal more than 23, John Mobley Jr. more than 26. So things like that, I think we all know, but needs to be said. The other thing, they played Ohio. I mean, no disrespect to what Jeff Bowles is doing there with the Bobcats. They're voted to finish fourth in the MAC this season. By the way, this is why you pay attention to the Views from the Shop podcast. Who else is going to tell you that Evan Mahaffey was voted to the preseason All MAC second team? Just just a tidbit for you there. We wish him the best of luck. Ohio right now, 54th in Ken Palm, 142nd in Park team that's expected to go to the NCAA tournament. Not that it's out of the realm of possibility, but not something that we necessarily would expect. So, again, we have to temper our expectations. But the thing is, we're going to wait a couple weeks because until Ohio State plays Notre Dame, and we'll see what Notre Dame is in the first couple weeks, Ohio State's not really going to be tested all that much. All due respect to IU Indy and a bunch of letters that used to be IUPUI, but now is not. All due respect to those programs, Notre Dame is going to be a cut above of those programs, and Notre Dame hasn't been good over the past couple of seasons as well. So we'll see what Notre Dame is. But again, it is Ohio. So in this type of exhibition, I would expect them to look good. Now, I did want to ask, and I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone after the exhibition for this one. I'd love to know. I would really love to know because you remember last year around this time, Ohio State loses and kind of gets crushed by Cincinnati in an exhibition. Would love to know if there was any difference in approach. Did they show anything more? Did they decide, we don't really want to get beat or lose in an exhibition? And obviously, Cincinnati, different type of program from Ohio. But all in all, just something I'd be curious about. I don't have an answer to that right now. But overall thoughts on this one. My biggest concern for Ohio State to this point in the offseason has been, can Brandon Knoll play power forward at Ohio State? We know Brandon Knoll can play power forward at Wright State. We know he can crush it at Wright State. He was phenomenal in the Horizon League. And you know what? I think Brandon Knoll could play power forward in the Big Ten at Penn State or Minnesota. But when the expectation at Ohio State is not just to make the NCAA tournament, it's not just to make the Big Ten tournament, it's to make a run in both of those tournaments and maybe make a Sweet 16, if that's not too much to ask for in year two under head coach Jake Diebler. So the expectations for Noel are going to be higher than at other programs. That said, the athleticism, the overall game strength that Noel brings, that's been a question that I've had and that people have questioned about within the program and conversations I've had over the offseason. He looked really good. He looked like he was right at home. And again, this was against Ohio. He should look good. Everyone on that roster should, quite frankly, look good against Ohio. But he was the number one kind of standout player for me, I guess I would say, in this one. He only had one miss from the field. He had 14 points in this one. That would actually be Christoph Tilly. He only had one miss from the field in this game in 19 minutes, 7 of 8 from the field. His only miss was from deep. 4 of 6 from the free throw line. He would end up scoring 18 points, and that would lead the way for Ohio State in this one. He finished at the rim very well. He moved off the ball like he always had at Wright State really, really well. I thought he looked really, really comfortable, so liked what I saw from Brandon Knoll. Front court in general looked promising. So we talked about Knoll, Christoph Tilly as well. He had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. Those 7 assists, by the way, would have been a career high for him if it were a real game. He's played 3 full seasons at Santa Clara, so I think that's a notable number. He didn't take an attempt from deep in this one. Would like to see 1 or 2 3-pointers go up for him, but man, I mean, the feed from him to Brandon Knoll and the finish at the rim and just his overall ability to space for Ohio State, to look comfortable at the 5 for Ohio State. Ohio State just lacked so much offensively in the front court last season. You didn't expect anything from Sean Stewart. Devin Royal was really, really good in a lot of games for Ohio State, but you couldn't just lean on him. Aaron Bradshaw in some games, in some practices, and just some days at Ohio State, nowhere to be found. Just where's Aaron Bradshaw? We don't know. All right, let's go to practice anyway. So, I mean, you look at what happened last year with the front court, and it was so bad. The potential is there right now, and you see it. You saw it in this exhibition with Knoll and Tilly. That's something that was missing that I am really, really hoping the puzzle pieces are starting to fit now in the front court for Ohio State. Talk about Amari Bynum. He had 13 points. He had 5 rebounds. He looked really good defensively. I think he had a couple steals, maybe a block as well in this game, but he was active defensively for the Buckeyes. So he looks really, really good coming off the bench. I hope the best case scenario for Ohio State is that Brandon Knoll is really good and Amari Bynum is really good, and either one of them can start for you. But I guess my hope would be Brandon Knoll stays starting at power forward for Ohio State. And Amari Bynum is one of the best 6 men in the nation. That would be probably best case scenario for Ohio State. But Bynum looked really good. Ivan Negavon, 4 of 5 from the field. He had 6 rebounds in just 15 minutes. Picked up 2 personal fouls, which would be an improvement from where he was last year defensively. I thought he looked pretty good overall. Again, it's Ohio. You've got much better size than them, but his ability to pull down some rebounds in just 15 minutes, that production, that was really encouraging. So overall, I think the front court, that looked good. That's kind of the biggest question mark that I've got for Ohio State heading into the season. In the front court, they can check the box, at least against Ohio. They look good. You're supposed to look good, but that doesn't mean you will, and they did. Devin Royal, another player I'll mention. We've talked about his transition to playing the small forward. We've already got a comment in here on YouTube talking about Devin Royal. His transition to the 3 is another big question mark that we've got at this point. He was 2 of 4 from deep in this one. That's enough volume. I get it's just one game, but that's enough volume to say we can maybe feel encouraged. The reports and what I've told you, especially in the past couple of weeks, has been, look, in practice, Devin Royal's really improving his 3-point shot. And that's something that was inconsistent at best last year. He had some games where he looked pretty solid. He had a lot of games where you didn't want him shooting the 3, and it might go in and also might clank off the back of the rim and off the back of the backboard, and it's a long rebound, and the other team's running in transition after a Royal miss or worse. So 2 of 4 from 3, that's solid. I think that we can absolutely be happy about that production from Devin Royal. Want to see that continue, obviously. Bruce Thornton was Bruce Thornton. There's no questions about him. I guess the one tiny small question we've had go all the way back to when the season ended. There was some frustration with Bruce Thornton and how comfortable was he last year and how willing was he last year to push the tempo and really push Ohio State's offense down the floor in transition. He's a half court type of point guard who doesn't necessarily want to run. He doesn't want to run down the floor. He wants to let things settle down. He wants to pick his spots. He wants to move the ball his way, which is fine. You can make a living doing that. Obviously, he's done that for 3 years. But at the same time, you look at what Ohio State wants to do, what Jake Diebler wants to do. They want to see them move the ball. Bruce Thornton, that's the only question I guess we've had. There's no concerns about that. In the exhibition overall, he plays 25 minutes, 5 of 7 from the field. He has 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and scores 11 points. That's fine. We didn't need to see anything from Bruce Thornton in this one. He's absolutely fine. John Mobley Jr. starting there beside Bruce Thornton in the backcourt. You're just going to have games like this. It may be against Ohio. It may be against Michigan State. It may be against Mount St. Mary's. I don't know. John Mobley Jr. is probably going to score 25 points in a game this year, maybe 30 points in a game this year, and that's going to be completely normal. But because of the type of player he is, he's also going to have games like this. I know it's an exhibition, but he's going to have games where he plays 26 minutes and goes 2 of 8 from the field because he shoots so many threes. He was 2 of 7 from deep. He took 1 shot from the field inside the 3-point line. That's how some games are going to go for John Mobley Jr. They probably wouldn't prefer it to go that way for him, but man, he's gonna be really good for Ohio State, but just based on that type of player that you are, if you're really a pure shooter, if you're a volume shooter, some days you're gonna be on, some days you're gonna be off, and if you're not Christoph Tilly, who can dunk, for 4 to 6 points in a game, or Brandon Knoll, who can hit a layup here and there because they're playing under the rim. If you're not like Bruce Thornton, who can get his way into the paint and finish at the rim as well for 8 points of your 17 points in a game sometime in December, then I mean, that's not the player John Mobley Jr. is. So in return, you're going to have games like this. Not a huge concern for me whatsoever. It's just kind of how it went for John Mobley Jr. He's going to have games like that. Overall, as a team, they shot 79% from the free throw line. Anyone know where they shot last year from the free throw line? Let's figure that out. I mentioned the 79% from the free throw line because they shot 29 times from the free throw line. That's a whole lot of free throws. So last year, they were 74.8%. That's pretty good. You're shooting 80% from the free throw line. That's huge. That's big time. That's going to win you games down the stretch in the Big Ten. So, again, it's one game. You'll love to see it. Will it continue? I don't know. There's also no pressure. Like, I'm not sure. Like, Ivan Negamon was really good from the free throw line. Where are my numbers? Did I just lose my numbers? Please hold. Man, I think I lost my numbers. Nope, nope. I got my numbers. Nagamon was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. There's no pressure. And in some other game this year, he's gonna go over 2. It happens. But overall, that was encouraging. Defensively, they remain a few steps behind the offense. It's kind of what I have been sharing this entire offseason, especially the past couple of weeks. What I've been saying is, at least for me personally, no really concerns about the offense. They scored 100 points in an exhibition against Ohio. That's fantastic. But defensively, there's still some concerns there. I think I don't know. Again, I've never come on the show and said I'm the X's and O's guy. I wonder about rotations. I wonder about who when you play UCLA and someone's going to guard Donovan Dent. We talked about on the show. Andy Katz said Bruce Orton's like the eighth best on ball defender in all of college basketball, not even just Big Ten, all of college basketball. I think we as Ohio State fans probably know that's probably not the case. There's far more than 8, 10, 15, 20 better all on ball defenders in all of college basketball than Bruce Thornton. That's not necessarily to take anything away from him, but on ball defense is a concern. I would say shot blocking might be a concern. Can Nagamon do it without fouling? Can Tilly do it consistently? Can Bynum do it as a freshman? You have questions there. And again, without Josh Ojawuna for a long time, maybe the whole year, they have no idea when maybe not no idea, but they don't know when he's going to be back really practicing for Ohio State. And if that's the case, then you're going to be sitting there in the front court and on the defensive side, there's questions there. So the defense, it still remains a step behind. I mean, they give up 74 points in this one. That's not horrible, especially with the amount of field goals that they allowed just because they played so fast. But all in all, I mean, it's just at this point, you got to see the defense develop as the season goes on. And again, the scoring aspect, I don't think you can put too much stock into it, right? Like in this one, you had Brandon Knoll leading the team with 18 points. You had 6 players in double figures. Sorry, 7 players in double figures with Negamon reaching 10 points. It's not what we're going to see. This was an exhibition. This was a chance for everyone who's going to contribute regular minutes this year to go out and get some real minutes and play real basketball. That doesn't mean that you're going to see this type of scoring output. Like the balance, I guess I would say, is not something you can really lean on. It's cool that they did it against Ohio. I don't know if that's something you can come to expect. However, all that to say, this offense is going to be really, really good for Ohio State this year. I'm going to come bring you some bold predictions in the next show. One of those will be from the offense. This offense has a chance to be really good, scoring over 100 points in the exhibition. I do think that matters. We know their offense looked really good in the secret scrimmage against Tennessee. So this offense is going to be good. Last year, you need Bruce Thornton, John Miller Jr., Micah Parrish, and Devin Royal all to get theirs. Pretty much all of them need to be in double figures. And if they are, you got a chance to win. If you have Bruce Thornton scoring 21 and John Miller Jr. scoring 15, Devin Royal at 11, and then Micah Parsons at 4, guess what? You lost the game. It's over because there was no help outside of that. Now, at this point, I think we can feel good about the help Ohio State has offensively. So those are my general thoughts on Ohio State's exhibition against Ohio. It's a win, 103-74. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to get into the mailbag. Thank you for watching again. Please, please subscribe on YouTube. Don't make me refresh. I'll refresh the YouTube right now, and if those numbers aren't up, we might shut it all down. I would never do that. I'm too soft to do that, honestly. Alrighty. Let's get into the mailbag. So this first question comes from the Substack. Comes from, I believe, a paid subscriber, Nick. Shout out, Nick. Um, His questions are, what are your initial thoughts from the exhibition? Probably should have reviewed this beforehand. Noel seems to really have good off-ball movement. Yeah, I talked about that already. Yeah, Brandon Noel, he looked good. It's against Ohio, so again, I don't know how much stock you can put in that, but I'm excited for Brandon Noel. I'm excited to see what he can do for Ohio State. And guess what? The football fans, there may be some football fans who are watching right now and would say, I don't really care about the basketball team. I don't know who Brandon Knoll is. I don't know any of these guys. I mean, it's 9:21 and it's a commercial break for the Steelers Packers game or something. So I'm scrolling through Twitter and I found this. Like, if that's you, that's fine. Welcome. Please subscribe. Please follow wherever you get your podcasts and all that stuff. But Brandon Knoll's not going to be a household name for Ohio State basketball, at least at this point. If he can become a household name by the end of the year for Ohio State, I mean, again, like, this is, you can see the potential. You can see how this team can be a Sweet 16 team. You can see how this team can start to be ranked, creep up in the rankings. Although we don't care about the AP poll, they can still creep up and get to 23, and then 20 the next week, and then 19 the week after that, 17. And all of a sudden, they're 14th in the nation. And again, the football fans look back and say, this team's good. Maybe we should care. Maybe we should pay attention. That's the hope, and Brandon Knoll can help you get there. All right, let's go to Twitter. I'm not. I will read your question because I see it, and then I'll move on. Ed, last name Helen, something like that. There's a chance this is a burner. I don't think it is though. What's your favorite psychic medium, crystal ball, or I believe it's pronounced Ouija or Ouija? I don't know, Ouija board. Say about this year's Buckeye season? We don't play that. On the Views from the Shop podcast, I'm gonna say it right now. We will take a stand. And here at in my show, we are anti-witchcraft. We're out on that. Don't play with that. All right. So I can't answer that question. Sorry. Another question at OSU underscore Crew 21. Probably Matthew Grudicek's favorite, his biggest fan, I guess is what I would say. So he asks, outside of Amari Bynum, who is one player that will need to be an offensive punch off the bench for this team to reach the ceiling in your eyes? Well, I think that your mind probably goes to the obvious answer, and that obvious answer is probably Matthew Nurkic would be my guess. Maybe it's Taysom Chapman. I don't think it's Gabe Cupps. All due respect to Gabe Cupps, and I don't know what Gabe Cupps actually what his numbers ended up being for Ohio State. I'm gonna try to pull that up right now in the exhibition against Ohio, which again, it's an exhibition, but I'll look at it. Gabe Cupps plays 19 minutes and he scores 2 points. I mean, I think that's who Gabe Cupps is going to be this year. Aside from getting yelled at for dancing on TikTok, he's probably not going to be a big time scorer for Ohio State. You need him to sit down and defend, and maybe Gabe Cupps with 2 minutes left in the game against UCLA at home on that Saturday in January when the Buckeyes are up 73-70 and it's crunch time. Maybe Gabe Cupps is in there. Maybe you're stubbing off John Mobley Jr. or Bruce Thornton to get Cupps in there and have him guard Donovan Dent instead of someone else. I don't know, but that could be the case for him. But right now, I would say the player you really need to step up outside of Amari Bynum to score off the bench, it's probably going to have to be Matthew Grudicek. There's still questions about him. We're not exactly sure what we're going to get out of him this year, but that would be the player that I look at because of the versatility that he brings, his ability to shoot the three ball, his ability to drive and slash and get to the rim, finish there. I think he still needs to adjust to the overall game speed of Big Ten college basketball at Ohio State. But that would be the player I'd look at. The other option you'd have is probably Taysom Chapman. I just don't know. I don't. I just. I When I think about Jason Chapman, I think about, as I've talked about before, year 1 at Ohio State where he was timid. That's the word I always use with Jason Chapman on him offensively. That's not me saying that he can't be good for Ohio State offensively. Like I shared before, I had someone tell me he moves like an NBA player offensively. That was months ago in the offseason. So, obviously, if you have that going for you, maybe you can snap in a couple threes, or you can finish at the rim and provide 11 points off the bench at some point for Ohio State, but I think the player you're looking at is Gruden. That would be my guess. All right, find another question, shall we? This one comes from the Substack as well. This is Drew with the question. I believe he's a super subscriber joining. You can find it if you're watching live on Twitter or on YouTube. You can find the link if you scroll up in the comments. All right. He asked, so he's essentially asking, do you have any insight after the exhibition uh, as far as, sorry, this it's hard to break down all of as far as how the coaching staff sees where they're at defensively in terms of individual performance defensively. Here's what I would say. Again, it's one game and it's 74 points. And I don't think, I guess we could calculate what the pace was of this game. But overall, you gave up 74 points for scoring over 100, and you gave them a lot of shots because of how fast you played. I I just struggle to get all that concerned about really any individual player. Now, what I'm not telling you, like I've said already, is that I think it'll be a great defensive team this year. John Ollie Jr. defensively, not concerned about it. Neither is anyone in the program. Bruce Thornton, he can play defense. Nothing is going to surprise him this year. And even in the front court with Kristaps Tilly, with Brandon Knoll, I think you do have concerns there. I think as a group, that's one thing to look at, but individually, kinda as you asked, there's questions. There's questions about, again, maybe not Thornton, maybe not John Mobley Jr., but Devin Royal, can he defend on the wing? Um, can Brandon Knoll, can Kristoff Tilly defend? We've seen Tilly get brought out to the three-point line and have to defend. I'm not sure how much you're gonna have to do that in the Big Ten this year, but at times it's gonna happen. So, I do have concerns about individual defensive ability. I've got concerns about them meshing as a team defensively. I've got concerns about their ability to defend the paint and defend the rim. Overall, these are going to be things that we're going to have to watch develop for Ohio State. And by the way, the questions that you're asking in the live chat, if you have questions, feel free to drop them there. I will answer those at the end of the show here once I get to the rest of these questions. All right. Went through that one, so we can click out of that tab. All right. Two more questions here, and then we can get to some of the live ones. So one question here comes from Reed Matthew Coleman on Twitter, who asks, any thoughts on Luca Foster or Tristan Reed? Well, if you missed it, Luca Foster committed to Gonzaga yesterday on Saturday. He committed to Gonzaga. He took a visit to Ohio State about a month ago, I believe, and Ohio State was in it. They didn't, and I'm happy that I don't see the comments that I would expect a lot of times when Ohio State misses out on a recruit, because I'll tweet it out if a player that Ohio State was targeting, especially if they take a visit, I'll tweet it out and say, hey, this guy's committed elsewhere. He's going to go elsewhere. Ohio State offers like 25 guys on the cycle. They're not going to get all 25. It's literally impossible. So sometimes I expect comments from people who say, oh, typical Ohio State losing another recruiting battle. And I guess probably Anthony Thompson, getting him probably helps kind of stave off those types of fans, but you can't win them all. So you lose out on Luca Foster. That's okay. It's okay. Tristan Reed, on the other hand, I asked about him a couple weeks ago. My What I'm told, and this is just from one person, so it's not like it's the most well sourced out there. My biggest fear is acting pretentious and acting like I know everything inside the program. I am very thankful for the connections I have. I don't know everything inside the program, so this is one where I'll just clean it up. I heard this from just one person, so take that for what it's worth. Tristan Reed, his recruitment at this point is a bidding war. And if that's going to be the case, and Ohio State just won Anthony Thompson and paid potentially upwards of $3 million for Anthony Thompson, or at least $2.5 million for Anthony Thompson when I've talked already about the NIL structure at Ohio State for basketball in particular. I'm not sure how much money is going to be left over for a guy like Tristan Reed. Now, I know Ohio State likes him. I know that they would love to have him. Like, there's no concerns in that regard, but this is a player who it's going to be a bidding war. So, can Mizzou get there? Can they get hot? Can they get a player in their home state? We'll see. But with that being the case, I lean toward them not getting him. That doesn't mean that they don't get him. I really I don't have any inside info on, like, where he's leaning right now. That would be my guess. And then another question here, man. Ohio Weather Daily. If you're on Twitter and you know Ohio Weather Daily, you know is a young or middle-aged or maybe even older man or woman, some type of human, I don't believe this is AI, who is passionate about sports and other things, and we can appreciate that. In this particular question, he says, "Any idea on how much Matthew Krzyzewski will contribute?" Well, I asked. I asked Matthew, actually, as a matter of fact. I texted him and I said, "Hey, they wanna know. All right, what do you say to this?" Where is it? He said, simple, "Let time tell, brother Maine." Can't say it in his accent, but that's what he said. So is that enough? Is that enough, Ohio Weather Daily? You tell me. Are we good on what Gru's gonna bring this year? I'll say it again. I gotta spread the word. When Gru hits a 3 this year, everyone needs to shout Gru. Like you do for T, yell Gru, okay? T. Higgins for the Bengals is what that means. Or Jay Bruce for the Reds fans back in the day, you know. So, in terms of expectations for him again, I would say I've talked about Amari Bynum coming off the bench, probably getting 18-ish minutes per game this year. I would say Gru is gonna be looking at, like, the 13 to 15 minutes per game would be my guess. Again, he's ahead of Colin White right now simply because Colin White has been injured. He's still like, he's practicing with Ohio State. I think his load is still kinda being managed at this point, I guess you could say, but he'll be good to go. He'll play for Ohio State against IU Indy should they need him, which I assume that you will. Like, he'll be a normal guy that's in the rotation, but Gru appears to be ahead of Colin White at this point. So he's going to be the guy backing up Devin Royal would be the expectation moving forward here for the Buckeyes. Again, I think you have to look at the fact that he got here really, really late. I don't think he got to Ohio State until mid-August, if I remember right. So it's been a long time. This is kind of like Ivan Negavon last year, where you don't get a full off season and you're coming from overseas and you're adjusting to college basketball, the new rules. You're adjusting college basketball and the speed and the strength. And this is a guy who just turned 18 years old. He just turned 18 on like July 2nd. He's barely 18. And now he's going to step in and play guys who are 21, 22, 23, maybe 24 years old. He'll probably play a 25-year-old at this point, at some point this season, right? So adjusting all that, I think that you're going to see growing pains from him, but I'm excited to see him because he's a nice guy and he came on the show. So we'll root for him hard, man. But overall, his play style, I think it's a great fit at Ohio State. Coming as a freshman, not coming from the grassroots high school program, coming from overseas instead. Questions about what he'll bring, but overall, I think he'd be a strong contributor here for Ohio State in the upcoming season. Before I get into the chat, I just want to check to see if we got any other questions here that have come in. I don't believe so. And if so, and I miss it, then I really apologize. But with that said, let's go through the comments here. And again, now this is your chance to ask any questions you have about Ohio State basketball. This is the preseason mailbag, so I'll get to as many questions as I can. I may have missed some. There are some that I was just like, I don't really want to answer that just because I don't know that it makes great content. Sorry, but if you have questions, now's the time. It's your preseason mailbag on the only Ohio State basketball exclusive podcast publishing at least one episode every single week of the year round, plus reviewing and previewing every single game Ohio State plays. All right. Got a question here. Looks like this comes from YouTube. What does guard rotation look like, and who needs to step up between Grew, White, and Chapman? Well, how about all three of them, along with Gabe Cupps? They all need to step up. But I think the ceiling and the floor kind of conversation you have, I think again, there's a good chance that you know what Colin White brings to you this season. Is a player who has really, really good length. He's got solid size to play the three for Ohio State. Does he have a 3-point shot? Ah, I mean, not like John Mobley Jr., but hopefully at the level of Devin Royal or better this season. I think you know what we can bring defensively, and I think that he sees the game well. That's just my own personal opinion on him. I've already talked about Drew. I've talked about Taysom Chapman on this show as well. If I'm picking one who needs to step up the most, it's probably Drew because you know what you're going to get in the backcourt from Bruce Thornton and from John Mobley Jr. So Gabe Cupps, I think, you know, his floor is probably pretty high for Ohio State. You know what you're getting out of him. And just, again, the conversation around him has been they really, really like him. So I would be looking at Drew to step up. And if Devin Royal can't produce from the 3-point line, if Devin Royal struggles to guard on the wing and things like that, you need Drew to step up. So that is what I would say. What does the guard rotation look like? I would expect Bruce Thornton, John Mobley Jr. getting more than 30 per game. I think the preference probably would be for Bruce Thornton to get less minutes per game than he did last year. That would be overall my guess, but you're going to see Thornton at the one. You're going to see John Mobley Jr. at the two, Devin Royal at the three. I don't know if you count him in the backcourt, in the front court. You probably count him in the backcourt, but he'll be starting there at the three. And then Gabe Cupps right now, I think Gabe Cupps is ahead of Jason Chapman. Let me be sure on that. And this will take some time here to find. I'm just gonna search in my messages. That might be easier. Sorry, I'm pretty sure I'm not crazy. Okay, here's the text. Yeah. So actually, here's where we're at. So Cups is the guy. He's going to be the first guy off the bench in the backcourt, and then I see Grew slash Chapman. I don't know if that's in particular order or not, but it's going to be Grujicic and Chapman as well. Again, White has been hurt, so he's behind them just because he hasn't had as much time to be out on the floor with Ohio State yet. But that's where they see it right now. Any other questions here? Let's see. Any word on Josh Ojanwuna? I've kind of talked about that already a lot. And again, I've talked a lot more about him on the Substack. You can get there. Uh, ask me for a free week trial. Again, I don't do that because I'm trying to milk money out of everyone. I'm doing that so I can justify the amount of time I spend on this. That's all that is. And I wouldn't ask you to pay if I wouldn't pay for it myself either. Do I think Devin Royal will be all Big Ten first team? Gary, that's a great question. It's really hard to be first team All Big Ten. Being first team All Big Ten is much different today than what it was 3 years ago because now you got Oregon, now you got USC, now you got Washington, now you got whatever other West Coast team is out there who's in the Big Ten now that I forgot. All that come out UCLA, obviously a great basketball program. So being all conference first team in the Big Ten or really any conference, like I don't care. I don't remember how actually they did it last year. If it's just 5 players, no, I wouldn't expect Devin Royal, but first team at least. But the thing is Ohio State is good. This is how voters do this, right? Like they're looking at the good teams, and then they're going to pick the best player, maybe the second best player, and that's how they will vote for their first team, second team, third team. So could Devin Royal is his ceiling second team this year? Yeah, probably. That's his ceiling. I don't see a path for him being a first team player this year in the conference. I think there's just again, there's so many questions I have about his development and we're good. Like we're not concerned about it. I get that. That's fine. But at the same time, you just got to see it. So we've got to see that from Devin Royal. So that would be my opinion there. Am I concerned about John Molly Jr.'s performance today? No. Again, if you tuned in late, I kind of already talked about that. He's a player who needs to get going from behind the 3-point line. That's where most of his scoring is going to come from. The pull up jumpers from the free throw line and just inside the 3-point line, all those types of things. That's how he scores. That's how he can be really good. Again, I texted someone after the open practice that Ohio State had, not for the student section, but just general open practice they had in the game before Ohio State football played Minnesota. And I said, John Miller Jr., is he the best player on the team? And they said, there will be some nights where he is. There will be some nights where he's not. So that's where you need guys like Tilly. That's where need guys like Thornton to step up for you. So no, I'm not concerned about John Miller Jr.'s performance today. It's how he's going to play. It's more so that if he is going to go 2 of 7, or I think 2 of 7 from 3, 2 of 8 from the field, you need Bruce Thornton, you need Christoph Tilly, you need Brandon Knoll, you need Devin Royal, You need Grujic, you need Amari Bynum to step up and kind of shoulder the load and score 5 to 10 more points combined to replace what John Mobley Jr. should be giving you. Another question here, and if anyone's got any other questions, this is the last one I see. So if anyone's got any more questions, please type them in the chat right now. This question is: any concerns with Tilly and Noel rebounding the Big Ten based on what you saw today? Based on what I saw today, no. Again, I personally don't put too much stock into a 40-minute exhibition. And honestly, folks, we'll be here next week. Literally 8 days from now at this very time, I will probably be live again on YouTube and on Twitter at this very time talking about Ohio State's first game against IU Indy. And I won't take much from that game because it's 40 minutes and it's a long season. And what you see from Ohio State when they play Appalachian State 2 weeks from now is going to be a lot different from what you see when Ohio State plays Michigan the second time in February. So, with that said, like, nothing really changes from the exhibition for me today personally. I would love to ask some questions from some inside the program and say, has your opinion changed on anything? I would guess the answer is no, because even after the secret scrimmage with Tennessee, the answer was no. Our opinions haven't changed with anything. What we saw offensively that we feel good about, it was confirmed. Our concerns defensively, those were confirmed as well. So there's nothing from the scrimmage or from the exhibition today that I say, oh, I have additional concerns. I feel better about things. Like, yeah, Brandon Knoll was super encouraging. We need to see that consistently against other programs like Ohio and then consistently in the Big Ten. Another question here. What do you think the offensive ceiling is for this team nationally? Like top 10, for example. I think it's possible. I mean, if you look back at the metrics last year for Ohio State, and that's the only year, a full year under Jake Diebler, offensively, they were okay. Their offensive rating was 115.5. That's really good at 88th percentile. Points per game was also 88th percentile at 78.8 points per game. Those numbers really good. The pace was low though. So that's why again, I'm really bullish on the offense this year for Ohio State because of the pieces that they bring in, because of the depth that they should have, that we hope that they have, and Bruce Thornton, you hope that he's just as good as last year. Like, that's fine. If he's not worlds improved from last year, that's okay. But if he can play like an All-American, then you feel great about Ohio State. John Lou Jr. steps in as a sophomore. He should be better. Devin Royal sliding from the 4 to 3. Again, early returns have been good on him. Tilly, Noel, they fit Ohio State. Look at all the pieces on this roster. It just feels so much better than it did this time last year going into the season where you could have some optimism, but it needed to be cautious and you needed to be ready to pump the brakes. That's not how I feel this year. So 87th percentile offense last year in terms of offensive rating. Their field goal percentage was 84th percentile from the 3-point line. They were really good by the time the year ended. So all those numbers combined, now the roster's better, first of all. The offensive overall fit is better this year with the players that you've got. No offense to Evan Mahaffey, no offense to Quest Glover, no offense to Sean Stewart, but you've got guys who can now go score and be comfortable offensively. So you have that combined with the fact that the pace should be higher this year. You should be scoring more points per game. And I'll just say that 100-point game from Ohio State against Ohio today, again, I've said it before on the show. I get it's Ohio, but 100 points is 100 points. I don't think we're going to see this is the last time we see Ohio State score 100 points in a game this year. So I think the offense should be really, really good this year. Top 10 ceiling, yeah, I would say ceiling would probably be like top 8. Top 10 to top 8 would be my guess. All right. Those are all the questions we got. If someone can type something in here at the buzzer, feel free, but those are the questions we got. So here's where we're going to go moving forward. I appreciate you being here today. If you're here live, if you're watching later, love that you're here. I'm very, very thankful for you. Next show is going to be Tuesday. We're going to do a full predictions and superlative show. I'm going to go through individually what I think is Ohio State going to do this year. I'm going to give you a schedule prediction. I'm going to give you, again, superlatives for players on the team. And I'm going to give you a Final Four prediction as if there's any skill in that whatsoever. I'll give you a Big Ten conference winner, all that stuff as if there's any skill, but we do it anyway because that's what we do. And then on Thursday, neither of these shows will be live, but on Thursday, I will give you the IU Indy preview. Why am I doing it Thursday? Well, because this is about to be crazy. This is a crazy busy time of year for me. I'm not like hand up like poor me. I mean, I asked to do this and I love doing it. I love talking to you guys. So it's no problem, but it's gonna be crazy. So I will do an IU Indy, Ohio State versus IU Indy game one preview on Thursday. You'll get Thursday, Friday, all weekend to listen to that. And then on Monday, we'll have a game. Here's my plan moving forward. I plan to go live after every single game for Ohio State this season. Now, there will be some games where that won't be possible just based on schedule. For some games that I'm actually at, I won't be able to obviously go live after the game. But my goal is to go live for as many games as possible here on Twitter and on YouTube. So make sure you follow and subscribe there. I'm going to refresh. All right. I'm going to do it. As scared as I am, I want to see where we're at in terms of subscribers on YouTube. We've gotten a couple. We've gotten a couple. We're not quite there. I wanna get to 200. That's my huge goal right now. So if you can please subscribe on YouTube, I would really appreciate that. Again, started the YouTube not that long ago. It started small, put a lot of work in there on the YouTube side, so please subscribe there. Planning to go live on YouTube and Twitter after every game, and then we will preview every single game as well. So that means on average 4 shows per week. That means I have less days off of doing shows than I have on. So all that said, that's a long-winded way for me to say I'll do a show on Thursday, and then I'll have a few days off before Monday the season starts, and then we are just on the ground running for Ohio State basketball. So that's the plan. Appreciate being here. I got one more question. I'll touch on it real quickly. Would you rather have Bruce Thornton off ball more and John Lilly initiating with turnovers, or Thornton back to handling the ball more with Junie off the ball? I want Bruce Thornton handling the ball. I saw concern with John Noble Jr. with turnovers last year. He's really, really good off the ball. He's a fantastic shooter. I always talk about how slippery he is. He can create with the ball in his hands, but I like Bruce Thornton facilitating. I think that's the best way for the offense to run. Although I wouldn't be surprised if John Noble Jr. is doing some more facilitating this year. Okay, that's it. I got some dishes to do. I was a good husband and I made dinner tonight, but I didn't do the dishes yet. So I need to do the dishes and then I'm gonna go to bed and then we'll have a week where it's our last week for months without college basketball. So we'll be excited for that. Appreciate you being here today. As always, again, please subscribe on YouTube, please, and follow wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Follow on Twitter, follow on Instagram, and hit me with DMs. Get on the Substack. You can have access to me there. Let me know your thoughts on the season. Let me know your thoughts on the show. I want to bring you the absolute best content possible for Ohio State basketball fans because you know what? We deserve it. That's why I started the show, is because we deserve the content, all the attention the football team gets, the basketball team deserves it too. So let's do that together. Again, appreciate being here today. Thanks for watching live if you were. If you're listening later on YouTube or on podcast, thanks for being here as well. For now, I shut up before you shut me off. Go